Now we're thinking here about part 4. What did we see in the graphs? What information are the graphs and the data tables we collected giving us? So we're going back to our original question. How does the heat capacity of water compare to the other two substances? So you should, at this point, be able to state which one had the higher heat capacity, which one had the lower heat capacity. And again, we have that information on our very introductory paragraph. We said a higher heat capacity means it takes more energy and likely more time to raise a substance's temperature. So if it's got a higher heat capacity, it took in more heat over time and saw less of a change. It took more time for it to heat up. That's what we're thinking about here. So this is your general, which one is higher versus lower, and then this is the data. What information gave you that answer? So when you're thinking about your evidence, what you should be pulling in is your change over time. So again, going halvesies with your data, you're going to be plugging in this information. You've got an adding heat statement spot. So what did we notice in the data table when we added heat? And what did we notice in the data table from losing heat? Same thing down here, change over time. So these actual numbers, these numbers here, should be found in this statement supporting what you just set up here for high versus low. And again, explain it out with that underlined statement that we just talked about. Look back at the introduction, refer to that underlined statement. So you're essentially connecting your data to that definition, which you can do. Now, the last part here, number 8, is worded really fancy. Basically, did your experiment was your experiment successful in answering that question? Think about what worked in your experiment to get you the correct answer, or if you were able to get a correct answer, and what didn't work. Like, what did you get stuck on, or maybe an error that you had in the experiment. So you're kind of thinking about positives and negatives from your trial. What got you the data that was helpful, and what maybe did you struggle with that you think you could do better if you were running through this again. And that brings us to our last one here, number 9. We asked you to write your lab procedure earlier. You wrote it up there in part 1, question number 4. And that was hard to do because we really weren't sure what the lab totally entailed. But now we've gone through it, and what we want to be able to do is make a perfect and precise procedure with all the details. And what we wanted to be able to do here is make this experiment repeatable. So if we handed our directions to an outside person, they could repeat every single thing that we did to make this lab a success. And maybe things you're going to add here are going to be things that you did. Maybe things that you add here are going to be things that you wish you did. And maybe things that you're going to take out here are things that you did or just you shouldn't do. So what you're going to do is copy and paste what you had from above and add anything you need to have in there in green and everything you don't want to be in there in red. So scroll back up to your number 4, copy paste that in, and make these corrections. And again, this new and final copy should be perfect and precise. So as you walk through every single step, every single detail, think about those keywords. Don't just say pour in the liquid. Well, what liquid is it? Tell me what beaker you're talking about. What degrees are we measuring in? What order are you doing things in? Right? So think about that detail and preciseness that we need in there so this experiment can fully be repeatable. And that's where we're at, team. So you should be able to submit at the end.